Okay, welcome back to Modern Mondays here at Guardian Games. We are Portland Paper putting on the broadcast, and I'm Travis Cooper hanging out with,
Jeremy James.
and we are here for round number 3 of 4. And it looks like we're getting table number 1 here. We've got Whir Prison hanging out on the left, battling against Mono Green Tron.
I'm excited to see Whir Prison in action here tonight. I have been paying attention to this deck for a while. I haven't picked it up myself, nor have I had to play against it, but I'm excited to see what it can do.
I have a feeling that this is a bad matchup for Prison. Just the fact that Tron has a lot of things that have abilities, and Prison only has a couple Pithing Needle type effects, and O-Stone, Karn, Ulamog are all going to be really strong, and Ryan doesn't have counter spells, especially in game number 1 to deal with those. Plus, there's some Ghost Quarters and stuff, perhaps, but I feel like Tron is going to be able to assemble Tron without too much interaction from Ryan, disrupting the land game plan.
I agree. I think the game 1 is going to be really rough, but the tutoring effect in games 2 and 3 could really show some of the sideboard cards' power. If Tron doesn't diversify its threats by a lot, it might see itself caught in a trap. I would not be surprised if it's right for War Prison to just try and make this game end very quickly so that they can get to game 3.
I'm curious if Ryan is on the Thopter Sword variant that I've been seeing lately, or if they're on the Bottle Cloister version of Prison.
Thopter Sword is another one of those was banned and then found not to be too powerful for modern selections. And they have an interesting effect that they have a pretty unique token that they use. It's not a regular Thopter, it's a colored Thopter.
Oh.
And
Well,
the tokens to get for that are kind of hard to find.
looks like we have just a tower for Sean for turn number 1, and we have an Ancient Stirrings off of a Glimmer Void for Ryan. Good old Mishra's Bauble Glimmer Void. Definitely don't want to activate that bauble.
Yeah, this is one of those starts that he might be able to turn 1 Mox that we were talking about before. Just on the back of having so many 0-mana artifacts.
Oh, second bauble. Found off of the Stirrings. And we're going to see what Sean has on top. The suspense build, Sean. What is it going to be?
Your turn.
We missed a bobble trigger.
Yep. Ryan doesn't want cards in hand
There is a
anyways,
danger
with
to
the Staring
that
Bridge.
that card.
I have a friend that plays with Bobble and has like a full-size token that they like put on top of the deck. Okay, we have a Sylvan Scrying turn 2. So we're not going to get Tron at least until turn 4 here. That Horizon Canopy is the land drop for Sean.
That card's seen some play tonight. What would you think of having a Horizon Canopy cycle?
I'm curious if in the new Modern Horizon set they're going to finish some of those cycles of future sight lands.
It would be very powerful in some of the other colors.
Yeah, it might not be the draw effect though, but maybe something like you pay a life and then sacrifice it to do another thing.
They're going to give the card draw to the green-white one. I can't imagine they're going to take it away from blue.
All right.
Chalice for 7. I think we're going to get that. Chalice for 7 tonight. Got 14 color where the land's coming.
Throne of Geth, you could maybe up to 7 there.
I like it.
But we just have a Pyrite Spellbomb. Is one of the win conditions that Prison can do is looping some spell bombs.
Yeah.
Usually not the one, but that is a thing that can happen.
Right. I think outside of highly competitive play, it's used just to be able to quicken the clock. Some of the other wins are a little slow, and if you aren't playing at your highest level or you're playing against opponents who aren't playing super fast, you can still run out even if you would have otherwise won.
All right, gonna get a map. So we're set up for turn 4 Tron here.
The deck is still good.
It's one turn later than what usually happens when I play against Tron, but
it's okay. He didn't even have the Karn. He only had the Ugin.
yeah, Ryan's not pressuring Sean at all at this point.
Maybe we can now Whir for a Pithing Needle. So that's you know, a pretty decent play against Tron. I agree with your original assessment of it. That isn't going to be enough to get him out of this, and I do think we're already 7.5 minutes into this game, and that's not going to serve Ryan for trying to win this match.
Yeah, once a Nulamog comes down, it's going to be pretty tough to interact with. We get that Mox Opal for Ryan, and going to get a Chalice on one, so it's going to prevent all those spheres and stars from coming down and drawing Sean a card. It's like you know you're in trouble in that situation if your opponent gets a Sanctum of Ugin instead of the 3rd Tron land.
I've always been a little suspicious of that land, Sanctum of Ugin. I think that land is a very powerful card.
Okay, we need a like Tron sound effect when everything comes together.
I think you're right. Maybe some emojis. Maybe some chat appropriate emojis.
Oh, I think we might have some.
I'll take it.
Worm Coil Engine is the threat that Sean chooses to deploy first. Can't really Pithing Needle that one.
You can Ensnaring Bridge though, and it's...
I kind of like that because Sean's basically asking his opponent to like waste a Whir for an Ensnaring Bridge if Ryan doesn't have it in hand, which that Whir could have gotten something to deal with one of Tron's actual like resilient threats.
Absolutely. Is that Tectonic Edge? Yeah, that's going to play here.
Well, we've got the bridge, so Worm Coil's just hanging out, looking. I was gonna say good, but it's kind of ugly, maybe. I don't know, just could be chilling for a minute.
Yeah, I think we're just delaying the inevitable though.
And we're just on Sylvan Scrying here to go get another land, but we're...
Oh, you didn't take the damage last time, that's right. Yeah, 2 in hand. Yep.
Could be taking the damage there from the Horizon's Canopy.
This might be a Ballista.
A Ballista on 2. Yep.
It is a Ballista on 2.
Okay.
See, to get around that, we're going to need the Witchbane Orb. Then to get around O-Stone, we'll need a Pithing Needle. To get around Karn, we'll need another one. This is getting rough. Can't play Pithing Needle directly because we have Chalice, so we have to Whir for it.
Okay, it looks like someone in chat is watching us before they go to work in the morning, so I'm curious where that would be. But yeah, good morning.
Maybe he's referring to the video they'll be playing later when it's uploaded to YouTube.
All right.
Yeah.
Or
Pirate
on Twitch.
Spellbomb is going to take care of the Ballista. Sean's going to shoot Ryan for 2. And making for real sure that Worm Coil is not going to attack.
Well,
unless Sean draws an Ulamog. But maybe Sean is stuck with a bunch of...
or an O-Stone.
Stars and baubles. Stars and spheres. All the eggs.
Expedition map.
Ancient Stirrings. I think that's a lot of one drops
Yeah.
that's in Tron. But what is the long-term game plan for Whir here? Like, how do we does Ryan assemble a win?
Right, we gotta loop that spell bomb with
Cloister?
We get a bottle cloister.
Academy runes.
The bridge lock, right?
It's interesting how the most popular prison deck
It's draw an additional card on my
before Whir started popping up
personal Howling Mine.
was
Your turn.
Lantern control, and you could definitely lock your opponent out of the game and be able to mill over any relevant card. It does feel like this prison deck doesn't quite have that same hard lock that Lantern had, but has a lot more versatile answers.
Okay. Keep all drawing additional cards.
Yeah, these game ones can take a long time, just as. But against any non-Tron deck, I think they have a good game one match.
Spyglass?
Yep,
All right, we get a Sorcerer's Spyglass. We see
Double.
an Ulamog, an Ugin, and then 3 1-drops.
Yep, better read those.
Yep, it's going to be 13 mana as soon as we hit that next land.
I'll name Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Eugene is named off of the Spyglass.
It's a wonderful card.
And Bottle Cloister activation. That seems like a fun thing to do.
Bottle Cloister.
Yeah, the trigger there. Where
It
you just go
is. It's a really fun thing to.
tuck your hand away.
When it goes awry, it is when someone destroys it. That's
It is,
also fun
yeah.
for the other player.
16.
Or is this going to be Sylvan Scrying?
Ding.
Uh-oh. So I think that's going to be 10 mana, so feels like it's time for a new Ulamog. What are your targets going to be?
Well, I know that mine would be Ensnaring Bridge, but if I was Ryan, like I said, I think I would pack this in and try and see if I can get Games Ring. Is that Engineered Explosives in play?
I'm almost into hitting the Spyglass and 1 bridge,
Cast trigger.
but really 2 bridges is fine.
Attack for 6.
Yeah, being able to get in this turn is nice. Being able to just win next turn is pretty great.
Sure. Sounds good.
And pass turn.
Okay. Get back my hand.
All right,
2 cards.
Card and draw for my draws.
More bridges.
any words? Looks like I see a blue card.
Whenever he attacks, he does that? Okay.
And I think we are going to get a Whir for another bridge here.
Whir for 3. This goes to my deck, provides an artifact, puts it into play. Equal, I can use artifact.
If I'm not mistaken, most lists are playing all 4 main.
Yeah, it seems like we are in a pretty creature-saturated meta with Arclight being the most popular deck.
Does it go to hand?
And to combat those, you have other decks that are playing a lot of creatures, or your primetime type decks.
Right.
Oh, we had a couple people hanging out from Brazil last week. We got some folks from Sweden this week.
In my turn.
Oh, exciting.
International now. But yeah, for anyone tuning in, we are here every Monday starting at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're hanging out on the west coast of the United States in Portland, Oregon. 4 rounds of Modern Magic in paper, analog, live. And we're in round number 3 right now with Ryan taking a draw and hanging out with 2 huge creatures that are not able to pass over the bridge. They're just too massive.
Really tap, hit the canopy.
Oh, sack it to draw a card.
And we're drawing a card off the canopy.
Land for turn.
Okay.
That's a lot of mana.
Right. We're almost to the. A ballista is also lethal soon.
So we're at 2, 4, 6, 8, 14.
Crucible Worlds.
That'll do it.
Play
Crucible of
Tecton
Worlds.
Graveyard,
Tech Edge. Oh,
and blow up
that's a thing that can happen. Okay, Sean's got about one more turn.
in my turn on that 2 forward move by hand.
Is Azoria Spirits good in this meta right now? I think Spirits is alright. I don't think it's particularly great. Phoenix has enough removal, and they have flyers that they're able to recur, so it can kind of be hard to deal with that deck. And I feel like if any deck is good, you have to have... if you're going to play a deck, you have to know that you're going to be playing Phoenix and have a decent Phoenix matchup.
It is a nice aggressive deck that's playing Path to Exile, though.
Correct.
So Phoenix deck, you do want to be able to be putting some pressure on while being disruptive. And Paths is one of the best removal spells against that deck. Also being able to snag their Manamorphose with your Mausoleum Wanderer is pretty good. I found that being able to counter that in any way has been usually buys you a turn or two. So I'm not sure how that matchup would go. I would be really curious to see that one. I think Spirit deck is always going to be good. It's got good cards. They're cheap. They
Okay.
interact.
Oh, we get a Karn. Or what are we going to minus on? I'm wanting to minus on this Crucible of the Worlds.
Seems good.
Oh, but
Yeah, mill
are
some
the Staring
cards,
Bridge and then
take
you
16
die?
damage.
That's a good one.
That's
Found the line, you know? Did you?
I'll just concede at that point.
Nope, nope, we're gonna concede.
Turns out Karn's still good.
Kill all your lands.
I was curious what, like, when Ryan was flipping over the cards, like, what do we got here? But land plus Karn was pretty sweet for Sean there, and it needed to happen that turn.
Pretty good.
Got some background pickup from that microphone.
I missed that one. Where is Grizzlebrand? Where is Grizzlebrand? I haven't seen Grizzlebrand in a while. We had, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago we had Grizzlebrand deck hanging out on stream. May have been a little bit longer, but we should have that. We archive all of our matches that are edited down and searchable through individual matches on our YouTube page that we put up a couple days after we do broadcasts here. And yeah, if you just look up Portland Paper, you can find a Grizzlebrand match there.
I know that if I was in the market for a fast, explosive, graveyard-enabled creature-killing combo deck, I might up for trying the new Living End style deck instead, just because it's new and it's fun.
Yeah, I got really excited when As Foretold came out, and there was some pretty, I'm not going to quite say janky, but there was some As Foretold, Living End, Ancestral Vision, Cryptic Command,
Yeah.
Kiki Jiki, Grizzlebrand decks floating around out there, and I
Right.
thought that was pretty
With
cool.
Seaver Exarch.
Yeah. But Electro Dominance is the thing, and yeah, it'd be fun to get one of those decks on stream. We had, a couple weeks ago, we had a solid turn 3 kill from Electro Dominance Living In deck that came out of nowhere. Really surprised me.
I think it's rough to have a combo-based graveyard deck right now.
Yep.
That
Yeah, if you look through like the SCG results of this last weekend, you have a lot of decks at the top tables that placed well that are running like main deck graveyard hate, like blue-white. Control is running 3 relics in the main, even though they're also running Snapcaster. You had Esper Control running Kaya and 3 Nihil spell bombs plus surgicals out of the side, and yeah, it's not a meta that I want to take my put the creature in the graveyard reanimated.
right.
Deck
I mean, on
to.
paper, Dredge is one of the best decks, but in results, it keeps getting hated out of the top tables.
But I could see if something like Faithless Looting gets banned and like Arclight subsides, probably that's when you'll dust off the Grizzlebrands and surprise some folks. But then you have to find a way to put them in your graveyard, which might be an issue.
Just one with nothing.
Here's Insolent Neonate, Cathartic Reunion. No, Charter Course. I've always wanted that one with nothing card to be playable.
It's pretty rough. Collective Brutality. I oftentimes find myself making decks that have black in them and having Collective Brutality end up being the 76th and 77th card. Or the 73rd and 74th and 75th card. I think the effect has been really good when Burn was really popular. Then you get to use all three modes, and that's always, you know, a game-winning play.
It feels so good when
But
they have like their Goblin Guide and you can gain some life,
That's
kill
right.
a Goblin Guide, take a Lightning Bolt.
Yep. But Modern just has such a wealth of powerful cards that it's we see all sorts of very powerful cards just sitting on the wayside a little bit.
There's some real sideboard thinking going on here. I think we're at like probably 4 or 5 minutes boarding.
Yeah,
something
we're
like
using
that.
a lot of time. It's going to be rough for this to end with a Whir Prison win.
Yeah, I don't see we're winning 2 games. I know in the sideboard they'll turn into kind of a Tezzerator deck with Sai hanging out and bringing in some Tezzerets. That's definitely a way to speed up the clock here, usually because Tron is maybe taking out some things like Ugin the Spirit Dragon to deal with colored permanents, assuming that there aren't going to be a lot of colored permanents hanging out on the other side of the table.
What do you think about keeping Chalice of the Void in?
Especially on the play, I think Chalice seems strong. A lot of times, like Tron has, Tron lands, a couple lands that produce green. Then you have the payoff cards and the cards to search for them, and most all of those cost 1. So you have like 4 stars, 4 spears, 4 stirrings, 4 maps. So that's a lot of 1s that you can shut off.
Yeah, I agree. We saw that Chalice strand like 4 or 5 cards in Sean's hand last game.
Especially if you
not
could
that it stopped him from
yeah.
winning, but
if you could get a turn 1 Chalice, which Prison can do sometimes with, like, say, Artifact Land, Opal, Welding Jar, Mishra's Bauble, etc.
and Chalice.
And Chalice. You need some things.
Yeah.
So chat thinks that Mono Green Tron is strong against Prison pre-board and post, but I guess they didn't know that the posts are banned right now. 'Cause that would make Tron really strong if you could play post. I'm here every Monday, folks.
I would
How about yours?
guess that this is true. I think
Your turn.
Whir Prison, well, it has a lot of individual answers to some of the Tron threats. It runs out of them more than Tron runs out of threats.
I think Whir Prison is sort of designed to beat creature-based decks and the decks that Chalice hoses.
Yes, one of my new favorite hate cards in Modern, Damping Sphere.
Also, Sean's going to have to play fair now.
One of the glorious side effects of that card is against Amulet Titan, it doesn't just make all of the lands that produce 2 mana produce 1, it makes them produce 1 colorless.
You know what I really like about having you in the booth is that you just said Damping Sphere and not Dampening Sphere. I feel like everyone calls this card Dampening Sphere.
That is not.
And like people say Moist Sphere, and I'm like, no, damping does not have anything to do with being moist.
It looks pretty moist. Like it might be like in a bubble of water in that picture.
I just see that it's stopping vibrations.
That's right. So in the lore of this car, this was dug up by Karn while on Dominaria,
Okay.
but they didn't tell us what it was when he was digging it up in the story, and it could have been anything. It could have been like a powerful Thrawn artifact that we had from the past, which it says it is, but it's not one we'd ever seen before. There were some really good ideas popping around the internet of what this card was going to end up being.
Wow, you're on a whole nother level.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not very knowledgeable at all lore. Now this is where sideboard leveling gets really interesting, where like if you're Sean, do you think that Ryan is going to sideboard out his ensnaring bridges because they're not actually that great, and Ryan is sideboarding in more aggressive creatures? So then do you sideboard in your Thought Not Seers and Thragtusk and stuff? Like you level 1 or level 2 somebody? It's just curious where you go with that sideboarding strategy for these matchups.
I'll tell you, I've never played Tron. But if I were to play Tron in this matchup, I think Thought Not Seer would be a good card just for its ability, even if I couldn't attack with it.
Oh, but we had the damping sphere dealt with, and it's going to get a lot harder for Ryan now. 2 spell skites.
One of them can protect the other.
Just throw in a Death Shadow in that situation and you're golden.
Sure.
Oh, it looks like we are on the Thought Not Seer plan.
Yay. Yep.
Jester's
There's
Cap.
some cards.
Ah, that brings me back.
Yeah.
Feel nostalgic. So we have a Whir, a Tezzeret, a Bridge, and a Jester's Cap.
This isn't just a Jester's Cap. This is old art Jester's Cap.
And
There we go.
taking the Bridge.
I think that is a very good inclusion in this matchup. Like, you are going to have to run this player out of a lot of threats, and this is a nice way of taking care of a handful of things.
And we get a Stirrings for Ryan. Well, what are we going to find?
Hopefully a land, because I know we want to hit that Tezzeret that he's got waiting in his hand.
Revealed Teleria West in play.
Looks like a Teleria West is going to be the pickup there.
That's a fancy one.
It's a From the Vault, I think. Usually whenever I see those lines when you have light glare from foils, that's...
Attack for 4.
Yeah.
All right, coming in for 4. Ryan's going to take it. Going back to the starting life total of 20. All right. What are we going to do for 8?
Mm.
-3 on Teleria
Or
West.
that's 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Got a Karn.
Card's pretty good.
Yeah. How many players do we have in the tournament, Chad? Ask. I think we have, let me check the sheet. Got
44.
45 players,
45.
actually. Yep, 45 players. And that's after some people drop when they go 0-2, so started off with more than that.
Uh-huh.
All right, we're following up that Karn with a Relic. And had a Spellskite exiled.
It's a pretty good turn
Oh.
for Tron.
Yeah, Jester's Cap plus this Tectonic Edge is going to deal with Sean having Tron forever. But we do have a Karn.
Right.
That is.
Not going to deal with it
Yeah.
now.
There is a Whir in Ryan's hand, so you get the Pithing Needle for Karn, but Ryan can't deal with everything right now in one turn. It's going to take a sequence of probably 2, maybe even 3 turns, and by that point, Karn and Thought Not Seer are both still continuing to do work.
It is. He does have that Tezzeret in his hand. Is it possible for him to play that, activate it, and swing at Karn with a 4/4 weapon? No.
No, that's I don't think that Tezzerator
The wrong
is going to
Tezzeret.
quite be able to get there.
I'm thinking of the old one.
We'll pull him up on screen. Have like old Tezzeret hang out with us for a minute.
Plus where Karn hit your lands.
Okay, sure.
Right. If it's the Agent of Bolus, we could have turned an artifact into a 5/5 and got in there.
Yeah, turn your Mox into a 5/5.
Or Spellskite.
3 for O-Stone.
Okay.
All right, gonna get an O-Stone. And Karn was plussed pitch the cap.
That's 16, right?
Yeah, 16.
See the Tezzeret still hanging out there. Got a Whir and a Chalice. And
Yeah.
currently Mox Opal is not online, so that is going to prevent the Tezzeret, unless we we didn't have any lands, so I guess you could play the Chalice for 0 and then cast Tezzeret and attack with Chalice, or attack with Mox or Spellskite. Whoa, gotta get one that's untapped. There we
It's-
go. But we might be worrying for C2. What do we got?
Maybe even a welding jar? No, because we got this O-Stone. It's about to do some business.
Coil Ulamog.
And those are some big creatures.
I'll name.
Ulamog and a Worm
I'll name
Coil.
Wormcoil coming down will take one turn off the clock if we don't
cut if you want.
end up with a bridge stopping this Thought Knot Seer.
I'll take it for 4.
Yeah, sure. Down to 11.
All right. Thought not continuing to come in for 4.
1 for Chrome Star.
Gonna play a star, crack a star.
Take it for
Start
You
cycling.
got a green.
Draw. Use green for Sylvan Scribe.
Okay.
All right.
Search
We're
out.
screwed.
And we're back. Tron is back online.
So that Ulamog is going to be a pretty big play next turn.
No, I didn't, because I only had 5 left. Wait, no, because you.
I blew up the other tower.
Figuring out
You had
mana
6 left.
cost.
I had 3.
I'm pretty sure you had 3.
We played a star. We cracked a star for a green. So that's 2. Then we paid an additional
I
1
can't recall if you had
for
Pretty sure.
a
scrying to use the green floating.
Maybe you had 6 lines. I don't remember having the 6 lines.
I think we should be good here.
'Cause you
I
would have
believe
six-
so.
'cause This was in play at the time before I blew it out.
And players are going to check.
You didn't play when you had the 3 forest already. Okay, I didn't realize I missed that many land draws. I thought I missed like a couple. I didn't think you were that ahead of me on that. Okay.
So do you think he's going to work with this O-Stone to try and free up the Karn?
I-
Or just jam the Worm Coil and try and get this down to a 2-turn clock?
Worm Claw.
I think you play Worm Coil and
So,
Worm Coil or not do anything and hold up a relic activation because you have Ulamog the next turn.
okay, cool.
I'll draw.
Uh-huh.
And I'll pass.
Okay.
Either way, Sean seems to be sitting in a pretty favorable position right now.
Yeah, and that Thought Knot Seer really did a lot of work this game. Being able to get down with the 4 straight land drops and do the fine game of disrupting the 1 card he wanted to get out of his hand at the time,
I'll do that one instead. There we go.
and just go ahead and do 16 damage.
Opal's still active. I have 3
All right,
Cast Tezzeret.
hanging out with Tezzeret now.
I
You gonna turn
will-
something into a 5/5?
I will plus
We're
Tezzeret.
gonna look for some cards.
It's basically just ancient stirring, but only.
Get some cards.
Who says green is the only one that gets ancient stirrings?
This one cannot get a land. That's
That's
costs
true.
costs
that's
4
true.
and doesn't and only gets artifacts.
I'm
Not
using
quite
the-
as
Yeah, but, your go.
Looks like another spyglass was picked up.
Draw.
Yeah,
79
Well.
seems good.
All right, so you're gonna probably have to target Spellskite and then something else. I could even
Veteran
be s-
move, Travis.
I was thinking Spellskite and Spyglass, and then you can minus Karn on the Tezzeret, but
Attack for 10.
does it matter?
Sharp
Not
order.
really.
Yeah.
I think we're on bridge or bust at this point, which is kind of like why I do like targeting the Spyglass and then minusing with Karn. Is that then if even like Ryan is able to assemble bridge, you have the answer for that.
Karn is only at 3 though, right?
The Karn is at 6.
Oh.
Or 7 maybe?
2.5.
7, 6.
1? I don't know.
I think there's a dice
7.
that's on 6. 7? 7, okay. Hard to see, there's some glare going on there.
Yep.
Ryan's think it has some actions here. Trying to figure out what it's gonna be. All I see is a chalice and a spyglass. I can't quite see what the third card is, but it has to be a way to find an ensnaring bridge.
And cast it. It's like it couldn't be another Tezzeret.
It basically has to be an ensnaring bridge or Whir. I'm not really seeing any other outs here.
Go tap for blue. Okay.
But who knows? I don't know the contents of the deck.
Spyglass. See the hand again. Ulamog, another Ulamog in one play. Okay.
Oh.
Quite the hand, sir.
1 + 1 + 1 =
I will
7.
main Oblivion Stone.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to cast Chalice on 0. And your turn.
Chalice is cast on 0.
That'll show
We're
him.
gonna get a clean victory here.
Unless there is a Whir in his hand.
Attacks.
Oh, but beginning of combat, actually. Before attacks. So
Right,
you're
so
doing the
this
combat
is
step.
this is
You're in
some
combat step.
ruling we're in the combat phase, so we're gonna do this Whir for a bridge.
All
We're
right.
gonna try and do this in a way that doesn't get you back to your main phase, so you can't jam
Okay. You're still in combat.
an Ulama or an Uga Karn activation if you were to have stopped a thing.
So I can't attack.
Well, you're already in combat. So
Okay.
So unless you can.
So I still like the line of then in your second main phase, casting Ulamog,
and then still
hitting
still
bridge, hitting
for
the
first
Spyglass
part of
on
the combat,
Karn,
like, I'm ready to start attacking my creatures.
minusing
Most people
Karn
jump
on a
that.
land.
It's the same as like Cryptic Command when they tap your guys.
or plussing
You
Karn.
can cut that if you want.
I'm gonna cast Ulamog, take the ensnaring bridge and the spyglass that's in the con.
Looks like Sean agrees.
And then you have no cards in your hands.
No, I have no problem.
I'll -3 on the Tolaria West,
Okay, sure.
and I'll pass.
Okay.
Alright, Teleria West is getting exiled. And
You got it.
that's gonna do it.
Wow,
Yeah.
drawing just bombs off the top.
So
of the
overall,
game.
yeah, that just seems like a really rough matchup for
Almost had a
Yeah.
word about that and that,
Um,
and had this, those both lockdowns,
Definitely
but you had the
not
other one on
built
top of that,
to
so-
interact favorably
This
with
is a tough
Tron
matchup
going
when
over
you
the
drop
top
and get
and
that many good cards.
relying on a lot of non-creature based threats that then have exile
Yeah.
clauses.
I've won a couple times on camera, so
I
this is
think
the first time I've won.
that Sean played this match very well too. I think there were decisions. Tron gets a bad rap for not having decisions to be made, and I think he did have some that
Yeah,
he did a good job with.
this actually, if you're on the Tron side of things, this seems like kind of a more interesting matchup to play because your choices do matter and it's not necessarily like Karn, Stone Rain you,
Right.
and then that's the game.
Yeah, the interaction across the board is diverse and unfamiliar.
I find, yeah, playing Prison against Prison style decks to be really interesting because you have to figure out what subgame that you're playing, and you're not playing normal Magic, and you're just making a very, like, a lot of things don't matter, but there's a few amount of things that matter a whole lot, and you're playing to your outs of being on the positive side of those interactions.
I agree. Lantern Control, Mill decks, these different win cons, even something like Ad Nauseam, like the way that the game is going to end is just a little bit out of the ordinary from creature damage or just complete board dominance, and it does create a new approach to how to try and find a victory.